Layla stepped out of the mansion, just as the sky began turning a rose-tinted color, and was welcomed by a soothing wind as she exited the rose garden entrance. Layla walked confidently, clutching a gold coin in her right hand. Her bold steps, however, didn't last too long when she saw Claudine sitting under the pergola near the full-bloom flower roses. The brunette-haired girl was having a fun conversation with her cousins, and she gave a vague smile when her gaze fell on Layla's.
Goodbye, Layla.
Claudine was the one who greeted her first. The young men sitting next to Claudine all looked at Layla with their gazes drawn to her, but thankfully, Duke Herhart wasn't among them. So Layla quickly replied with a single bow to her farewell. But Claudine remained silent. After she was out of their sight, Layla began to run. She couldn't wait to escape from the weird and unknown world and get back to Uncle Bill's cottage as soon as she could. But it seemed her worst misfortune came at the very last moment. Layla tripped at the crosswalk of the garden and the forest path. Her gold coin mockingly rolled down the paving stone and landed on the tip of a man's shoe, and the man lightly stepped on the coin with the tip of his shoe to quell its tinkling sounds. Layla moved her eyes slowly to the well-polished shoes, up to the long legs, and finally to the man's face that loomed upon her. It was Duke Herhart. Layla startled and immediately sprang to her feet. Her white dress had blood and dust stains from her scratched knee. With a composed expression on his face, the Duke clearly stared at Layla with his red lips, which seemed to be slightly curved to one side. Layla pressed her lips together and brushed the dust from her clothes. Meanwhile, Duke Herhart took a leisurely step back. Then the coin under his foot shone brightly, reflecting the sunshine. Layla hunkered down her body in front of the Duke, even though she wanted to leave the place right away. Just as she was about to stretch out her arms to take the coin, she remembered what she had been told by Claudine.
No better than a dog.
Those words had scratched a deep wound in Layla's heart. She took the coin and politely bowed to Duke Herhart. Layla didn't dare to lift her head, so all she could do was stoop her head as low as she could and hold her breath. As she bowed, surprisingly, the pain she felt when she fell was no longer there. Layla left the Duke and continued her run. Because of her injured knee, she couldn't run as fast as she could before. At the same time, she kept pushing her bloodied legs. She felt something sprouting from the bottom of her heart to the tip of her throat. Layla realized what it was after passing through the forest path and facing the light from the cottage. It was sadness.
I'll give this for you, Uncle.
Bill's hairy brows grew to wrinkle when Layla put out the gold coin to Bill in a hushed way.
What's this?
A gold coin.
You think I don't know that?
Lady Claudine gave it to me.
Claudine. Ah, that little noble lady.
Bill showed her a friendly nod as if he recognized her. Layla had been feeling down for the next 2 days. Ever since she was invited to the mansion, she didn't talk to anyone or go for a walk in the woods or the garden. Bill realized he missed the good old days, especially that child's upbeat attitude. Since the child was silent, the world became quiet. And he wasn't a fan of the quiet world.
Can you tell me why you want to give me that money?
Layla sat in a straight pose, facing her dear uncle, while Bill leaned a little towards the table.
Because I think it's worth a lot.
It's worth a lot?
Even though receiving this coin made me sad at first, I couldn't possibly throw it away because of its high value. So I thought that if I gave you this coin, I might at least start repaying you after being indebted to you for so long.
Damn it!
Layla flinched mildly at Bill's harsh mutter, but she didn't seem to mind his curse. Bill had been concerned about the nobles, hurting Layla's tender heart, ever since she arrived in Arvis. Since all the aristocrats were the same to Bill, he had expected that they would bully the child because of her low status. The majority of them were arrogant, rude, and insulting. Bill was afraid of making the child shed tears if he asked what had happened at the mansion, but he had a good idea of how badly the child was treated there.
Layla!
When he called her name, Layla gave a childish grinning, despite her best efforts to act mature for her age.
Since you earned the money, take it.
The money I earned.
Yep, it's the money you made while working. It's a pain in the neck to deal with a bored aristocrat. You pulled it off, so you can confidently claim your prize.
Layla's brows furrowed in bewilderment. Bill gulped down the thick glass of beer in front of him, while gazing at the pondering child.
Really?
Layla tapped on the gold coin with her head tilted.
That's right.
Bill cleaned the beer from his beard with the back of his sleeve.
The money I earned.
Layla's expression became noticeably brighter. Bill cut up a large piece of meat and set it on her plate.
Welcome to the adult world, Layla.
Adult? Me?
Well, you're considered an adult if you can make money on your own. That's exactly what you did.
But I just made 1 gold coin.
In this world, there are plenty of adults who can't even make a buck. So far, you've had a good start. You're going to be a pretty good adult because you're off to such a good start.
The long days had passed, and it had been during those long days that Bill mused the reasons why he couldn't raise Layla and where he could send Layla, the lovely but troublesome young girl who came out of nowhere in his life. Layla grew a lot during those days of Bill's relentless wondering. The new clothes he had bought for Layla were getting shorter, and her smooth white calves were starting to show. The warehouse-like room that Layla was supposed to use as a temporary residence became a ladies' room at one point. The troublesome child who used to hop around the woods trail grew into a finely matured lady, who now crossed the same track with gentle steps as if gliding on water. Bill was seated on a chair underneath the porch with a puzzled look on his face, when a young lady with a willow basket full of raspberries was waving at him.
Uncle, you're back early today.
Layla lightly ran towards him as if she were dancing. Her pretty blonde hair, which was braided into a single hairdo. Her 2 red cheeks were as fresh as the roses Bill had recently planted, swayed under the wide brim of the straw hat.
You must have gone to the woods again.
Yes. Look, it's a great harvest, isn't it?
Layla proudly held up her willow basket.
I'm going to pick some more tomorrow. I'm planning to make a lot of raspberry jam.
Are you planning on starting a business or something?
That's not a bad idea.
Layla sat beside him in a chair with a bright smile on her face. Layla dropped the basket on the floor and started digging through it until she found a wild peach that she picked in the woods. Bill took the peach she was giving out to him. Then he cut it in half and handed the half-sliced peach to Layla. While eating their peaches, the two sat next to each other and watched the forest. The birds chirping from afar sounded as clear as Layla's voice, and the noise of leaves blowing through the clear blue sky charmed their ears.
It's summertime again.
Bill muttered unknowingly and cracked up laughing when he discovered the old leather bag that ran below Layla's knee, recognizing that it was the first item he gave her the year she arrived.
Are you going to carry on with this old thing until it's worn out?
I like it because it is comfortable to wear. It's still useful.
Her bag shook with care as Layla lifted it. Bill was able to pinpoint the source of the rattling noise. Tin pencil case, pocket knife, old notes, some beautiful feathers and flower petals. She didn't change much in certain aspects.
Kyle will be here the next day, she said. We're going to have dinner and study together. Are you fine with that?
Layla asked while placing her delectable-smelling plate on the table.
Why does that rascal keep coming to my house to eat when he has a rich father who provides him with enough food?
I know you like him, even though you speak of him in that way. Unfortunately.
Layla casually chuckled as Bill expressed his dissatisfaction. At the end of a lovely meal, the night grew deeper. After cleaning dishes, Layla returned to her room and took a warm shower. She was sleepy, but she chose to sit at her desk and switch on the lamp. An exam loomed in the coming days in her summer vacation joy hinged on the result of that exam. The sound of her pencil making marks on the paper was mixed in along with the sound of nighttime birds chirping, which was carried down from the night breeze. Layla, who had been focusing on her studies for quite some time, finally let go of her pencil, unable to handle the eye pressure and faint headache that came over. She had to squint her eyes to see clearly ever since she was a kid, and now, her eyesight, which had never been very good to begin with, seemed to have worsened. 20 bottles of raspberry jam. No. Should it be 30 bottles? Anyways, a bit more. She was almost on her goal of buying a pair of glasses. And though her problem should have gotten settled by telling Uncle Bill, she was afraid of burdening him. He was already giving her too many things, and she wasn't willing to repay him back with just money. The majority of people laughed at Bill when he said he'd send Layla to school. They told him there was no point in schooling an orphan child. and sneered that when she got older, a kid like her would wind up being the mate of the Herhart family. Bill, on the other hand, was adamant in his decision. Every day, he spoke with Layla, telling her that she would be a pretty smart woman. After Layla closed her eyes, her headache subsided a little. Strange thoughts began to fill her. Hollow head that the return of the birds in the woods, her summer's plans, the mastermind behind the series of a famous mystery novel, published in the daily newspaper, and Duke Herhart. Layla slowly opened her eyes as soon as the name came to mind. Beyond the familiar darkness, she could see the scenery out of the window. Fluttering branches, the moon and stars, and the night sky sparkling above those trees. Layla caught her breath silently as she blinked at the dim white light from afar. After completing the Royal Military School, the Duke, who had graduated from college, was commissioned as an army officer in keeping with family tradition. He hadn't visited the estate in many years, due to his assignment to the frontier overseas, so it had been a peaceful time for both Layla and the birds in the forest. But he was scheduled to return this summer. Master of Arvis, Duke Herhart. That marked the end of 12-year-old Layla. The Duke was back, and Layla was an adult. And the real story would begin now.